On the day they were going to kill him, Santiago Nasar got up at 5:30 in the morning to wait for the boat the bishop was coming on. That is how Gabriel García Márquez opens his masterpiece, Chronicle of a Death Foretold, by telling us the ending first. There's no mystery about who dies, who the killers are, or how it happens. Everyone in the town knew it was going to happen, and yet, no one stopped it. This isn't a whodunit, it's a why didn't anybody do anything. It's a chilling look at how an entire community can become a silent accomplice to a crime, simply by looking away. Imagine this. Santiago Nasar, a wealthy, handsome young man, wakes up one ordinary morning in his small Colombian town. He puts on his favorite white linen suit, ready to greet the visiting bishop. He's cheerful, oblivious, walking into a day he thinks will be just like any other, but it won't be, because at that very moment, two brothers, Pedro and Pablo Vicario, are sitting in a local shop, sharpening their knives on a whetstone, and they're not being quiet about it. They are telling anyone who will listen, "We're going to kill Santiago Nasar." Why? The night before, their sister Angela Vicario was returned to her family in disgrace on her wedding night. Her new husband discovered she wasn't a virgin. When her family demanded to know who was responsible, she whispered a single name, Santiago Nasar. Whether it was true or not didn't seem to matter. From that moment, a code of honor, as brutal as it was archaic, kicked into gear. Her brothers were now bound to restore the family's reputation by taking Santiago's life. But here's where the story becomes truly haunting. The Vicario brothers don't want to do it. They announce their plan everywhere, at the butcher shop, at the milk market, to the local police officer. They practically beg to be stopped. They're performing a public ritual, hoping that someone, anyone, will step in and prevent them from having to go through with it. And what does the town do? Nothing. It's a masterclass in collective diffusion of responsibility. Some people think it's just drunken bragging. Others figure it's not their business to get involved. The mayor, Colonel Aponte, confiscates their first set of knives, but then goes back to playing dominoes, assuming the threat is over. The town priest, Father Amador, hears about it but gets so caught up in the excitement of the bishop's arrival that he forgets to warn Santiago's family, thinking, "It was no affair of mine, but something for the civil authorities." Friends who hear the rumor just laugh it off, thinking Santiago is too well liked for anyone to actually harm him. Dozens of people see Santiago walking through the town square, completely unaware, and they either turn away, assume someone else has already warned him, or simply choose not to be the bearer of bad news. Each person has a perfectly reasonable excuse for their inaction, but when you add them all up, they become a death sentence. And so, Santiago Nasar walks, step by unknowing step, toward his own public execution. The tragedy isn't just his death. It's the 100 small choices, the 100 moments of silence, that made it inevitable. That's the genius of Márquez's storytelling. He transforms this small-town tragedy into a universal mirror, forcing us to look at ourselves. Every character, every townsperson becomes a part of the crime. They are guilty not because they held the knife, but because their silence allowed the knife to be used. The book isn't just a story. It's an investigation into the anatomy of a social breakdown. Years later, a narrator, a friend of Santiago's, returns to the town to piece together the fragments of that day. He interviews the witnesses, trying to make sense of the senseless. He's like a journalist investigating a crime that everyone already confessed to, but no one can truly explain. Through these fragmented memories, we see how a community can poison itself with secrets, rumors, and a suffocating code of honor. And this brings us to the core of the novel, the twisted idea of honor. The Vicario brothers kill Santiago to defend their sister's honor. But Márquez relentlessly questions what this honor is even worth. Is it a noble ideal, or just a hollow, destructive social construct? A code that values a family's public image more than a human life, more than truth, more than compassion. It's an absurd, tragic performance where everyone plays their part, even if it leads to ruin. Even Angela Vicario, the woman at the center of it all, seems to transcend this brutal code. Years later, she starts writing letters to the husband who abandoned her. Not letters of hate, but letters of love and longing, one a week for 17 years. Through her, Márquez suggests that while honor demands blood and vengeance, true human connection, love, forgiveness, and understanding operates on a completely different plane. It's a quiet rebellion against the very code that destroyed Santiago's life. The way the novel is written makes it feel like a fever dream. The timeline is fractured, jumping back and forth. Memories are unreliable and often contradict each other. Everyone remembers the weather differently on that fateful day. This nonlinear structure reinforces the central theme. The past isn't a straight line. It's a wound that never fully heals. An event that the town is forced to relive over and over, trying to find an explanation that isn't there. The outcome is always the same. Santiago Nasar dies, and the town is left to choke on the ghost of its own silence. This isn't just a story about a fictional town in Colombia. It's a question posed to all of us. How often do we see something wrong happening online, in our communities, in our own lives, and choose to look away? How often do we tell ourselves, "It's not my problem," or "Someone else will handle it"? Márquez shows us that evil doesn't always triumph because it's strong. Sometimes, it triumphs simply because good people do nothing. Silence isn't neutral, it's a choice. Inaction is an action. Chronicle of a Death Foretold is a profound warning. It tells us that knowledge means nothing without action, that morality withers in the space where we assume someone else will do the right thing. Santiago Nasar's death wasn't a prophecy or an act of fate. It was the sum total of dozens of individual failures to act. When Márquez writes that everyone knew, he's not just talking about the townspeople, he's talking about the human condition. He's talking about the times we scroll past injustice, turn our heads, and pretend we didn't see it. So, the novel leaves us with a haunting question, one that echoes long after you've closed the book. It's not a murder mystery, but a moral one. And the ultimate question isn't for the characters in the story, but for you. When it matters most, will you be one of the many who knew, or one of the few who acted? Thanks for watching. If this story resonates with you, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the books that shape our world. See you next time.